Support for Audacious with Kyone Wolf provided by a generous contribution from Suzanne Hopgood in memory of Frank Lord.
From Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford, this is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf in my bedroom in 1988 on the night of my 8th birthday. Every year, in my birthday card, my parents gave me scratch-off tickets, and for some reason I would always wait until bedtime to scratch them because maybe I didn't want my family to see my disappointment if I lost, or I didn't want my brothers to find out if I hit the jackpot. So here I am, birthday night, scratching away in my bed. No. $50. Oh my God. $50. That would get me a Cabbage Patch Kid and at least 5 koosh balls. I'm so pumped. I forget all about my brothers and I run downstairs and I go, I won $50. I won $50. Even just thinking about it now, that feeling of getting something so big, thanks to pure luck, that is exactly what we're going to be talking about today, but, multiplied by millions.
It's time to play America's favorite jackpot game. This is Powerball. Tonight, we've got another life-changing jackpot for you.
Okay, let's dive into the world of winning the lottery. How amazing it can be and how challenging it can be as well. Plus, you're going to hear about common mistakes people make in the moments just after they win. And you'll find out how to claim your fortune in the smartest, most inconspicuous way possible. But first, I apologize for lowering the vibe, but we've got to manage some expectations here. You're probably not going to win big in the lottery. Your chances of hitting the jackpot are about 1 in 292 million, according to Powerball officials, so you're much more likely to get struck by lightning. And for people dealing with compulsive gambling or a gambling disorder, the lottery can be a huge trigger. And while there are absolutely cases where winning the lotto has ended up being a nightmare, for many, it's an opportunity to dream big and follow their passions and improve the world around them. A little later, you'll meet a multimillionaire who won big back in 1999. And now he has a podcast where he interviews other lotto winners. We'll talk about the upsides and the downsides of winning big. But before we get to that, I want to introduce you to a man known as the lottery lawyer. When Kurt Panousis was in college, he was an extremely competitive athlete. But once that didn't feel so fun anymore, he chased those endorphins by becoming a certified public accountant. And when being a CPA wasn't thrilling enough, he continued his pursuit of fun by going to law school. Then Kurt's career changed forever when a divorce lawyer friend called him for advice. The husband had won the lottery before the divorce was finalized. Now that sounded like a fun challenge, and thus began the career pivot of a lifetime. Kurt is now devoted to helping only one very specific kind of client: lottery winners. When we connected back in July, I posed this situation to him. Let's say I win a $30 million Powerball ticket. Besides scaring the bejesus out of my pets by losing my mind in the privacy of my own home here in Hartford, Connecticut, what should be my next move?
Keep the circle of people that know as small as possible. If you have a spouse, I think you need to tell your spouse, but that doesn't mean that you tell your spouse's family or your children just yet, even if your children are really adults, because, there's this expectation, mom and dad won, I can now quit my job. And you really want to keep it small because you want to talk to that advisor to find out what's the next step. The next thing is, let's make sure that we have a winning ticket. So you look at the ticket. Yes, you've checked the lottery app on your phone. Yes, you've looked at it. Don't take it to a store, but just make sure that you've looked at it and had someone else look at it for you, a spouse or something like that. Then what I tell people is, do not sign the back of the ticket, because although it's a bearer document, and if you lose it, it could be a problem, the fact that you signed the ticket may cause your name to be identified as the winner. So make sure that we discuss that issue before we put anything on the ticket. Every state has different rules and procedures for whether there's a signing on the back of the ticket. Make a copy of the front of the ticket and the back of the ticket on your phone, because that's all someone like I would need to get going for them, the barcode numbers and all that. And then, as silly as this may sound, take a selfie with the ticket and then find the safest place you know to put that ticket. I would suggest going to a bank and a bank deposit box. But if you have to do it at your house, make sure that you put it in an area where it's ventilated, because those little that lithogram paper can get destroyed. It can wear off. It can get wet. So put it in something that keeps it basically sealed with some air in there. Then call the attorney that's going to help you, and call someone that has experience, whether it's me or someone else. Call someone with experience that has done this before. Make a couple calls, do your research. This person that you're hiring to help you with the process is going to kind of become part of your family. They're going to know your secrets. So when I get that call from that client that says, hey, I won, and we go through the process, don't sign the ticket, put it in a safe place, take a selfie. Then I start talking to them. I go, okay, tell me about yourself. Tell me about your family. Are you married? Do you have children? Do you have an ex-spouse? Do you owe any alimony? Do you have tax issues? Talk to me about all this stuff. And then we have to take a look at the amount of money that we won. So you said, hey, I won $30 million. Well, that's the posted amount. So your lump sum amount, because of inflation, is about half of that. So now we're down to 15 million. And now you're going to lose another 40% or so in taxes, between federal taxes and state taxes. So now we're down to basically around $8 million that you won. So I would treat that a little bit differently than someone that won 100 million. Because if someone tells me, hey, after all the taxes, I have 8 million, 8 million is a comfortable amount to retire and live pretty much anywhere you want without really making any large gifts. Because this is the opportunity, as I said, don't sign the back of the ticket, to create a trust or an LLC or some other type of club or vehicle to say, hey, my portion of this 100 million is 80%, and this other 20% goes to my two kids, 10% each. And we're going to claim it as a group, as a trust, as an LLC. So therefore, you're not making a taxable gift after the fact to your kids. They're part of the winning ticket. Now, obviously, before you do this, you have to decide that this is the right way to go. And then you have to reach out to your children and say, okay, I need a one-on-one with you, with my advisor, because we need to discuss how your marriage is. Tell us about your family. Tell us about what's going on in your business. Should we consider making you part of this, or do we have to take alternative arrangements to get you the money that we want to get you? So talk to them about the choice of lump sum versus annuity. What might be better for them. Most people take the lump sum, and you want to go to some private bankers, let them take in the money, let them invest it. And then I tell the client, okay, let's try to go 6 months without buying anything. During that 6 months, I want you to write down for me what you think you want to buy and what you need to buy. And let's make up 2 lists. And let's go 6 months without any of that. Now, you may need a new car. I understand that. But we don't need to go out and get a Lamborghini, okay? So we get a car, maybe lease a car for a year or two, just so you have something new that you don't have to worry about. It's dependable. And then let's take a look at your mortgage. If you have a mortgage, should we pay it off? Is your interest rate on your mortgage really low where you're better off not paying it off? And let's meet on a regular basis after the 6 months. Let's update your estate planning so that if you pass away, we know what's going to happen with your wealth. We know what's going to happen if you become incapacitated. So, here we are. We're 6 months down the road. And now we can look back and say, well, this was in your need column and this was in your want column. Did you really need that? Or should we let that go a little bit further? So this is where the coaching comes in, where, I'm the person that's their shield. The one thing I don't do is I don't get involved in their investments. Okay. That's what we bring professionals in for. And that's where the people that play the lottery are people that they're basically hoping to retire. They're hoping to retire comfortably. They want to help some causes. But for the most part, they want to hold on to these funds. And they want to look at the bank to make sure that the bank says they still got $30 million in the account. So, that's basically where we are. We get to 6 months down the road, and then we say, okay, let's talk about dynasty planning, generation skipping planning for children and grandchildren. Let's set those things up. If you're going to buy a home, let's not buy it in your name. Let's set up a land trust so that no one knows who the owner of this condo is or this house is. Keep things as anonymous as possible. Stay with the anonymity. It's the key for their success. It's the key for their safety. It's really what drives my practice at this point in time, is to make sure that that client is anonymous.
Now, in Connecticut, my understanding is that anonymity is not an option, but if I won 30 million, I could not claim it as Kyone Wolf, but claim it as a trust that I make up that's like not Kyone Wolf
Correct.
LLC or something, right?
Yeah, you wouldn't want your trust to be named Kyone Wolf. So now Connecticut does say if you win over $10,000, you can ask your name to be removed from the list. Well, that's nice. So your name's not there. However, that doesn't prevent someone from making a public records request. And all these estates, there's always the public records request, Freedom of Information Act, all over the place. So that's why I always tell people, claim it in a trust, claim it in an LLC. Let's look at their rules. And there's always a way to get around the rules. And the last resort is always filing a petition or a motion in court. So you get a litigation attorney in there. It's worth it to try to keep the person being anonymous.
Okay, lump sum versus the staggered payouts of an annuity. What do you think?
States are only allowed to invest in certain types of investment vehicles, and they all have to be the safest vehicles out there. So the safest vehicle to invest today is treasury bills. So these lotteries, when they take in this money to pay out a lottery or to pay it over time, they invest in treasuries because that's all they're able to do. You have to understand that the treasury rates have gone from a fraction of 1%, like 0.25%, to close to 5% today. So that's what the treasuries are. So inflation has affected this, and that's why the payouts now are less than 50%. So the first thing I'll tell someone is, how old are you? If I get someone that's in their 20s and they tell me, Kurt, I'm a spendaholic, I'll go through this money, I may say, well, let's look at the annuity closer. The real decision between the lump sum and the annuity is when you receive the money, each year you receive the money, it's income in that year. So when you win the lottery and you get this $100,000 a year for life, or $400,000 a year for life, or $500,000 a year for life, it's pushing you into that higher bracket. So right now, if you claim the maximum you would pay is 37% for federal, 24 now and 13 in April. And then, of course, your state taxes. But if you're paying 50 to 70% when you get those other annuity payments, you may get less money. The other question I have for people is, in your state of Connecticut, do you think Connecticut is going to be sound economically in 20 to 30 years? I mean, what's the chances of a state going bankrupt for one reason or another? We don't know. So I just tell people, in most cases, I'd rather pay the 37%. I'd rather get it out of the way. I'd rather have the money invested, control it my own way, live off 3-4%, make sure that I'm comfortable at that level and be anonymous and not have to worry about next year. And all the anxieties you're going through today to claim your ticket, imagine going through that 29 more times. When's that check going to be wired to my account? I need it now. And they're going to wait until Monday. And all those anxieties that you go through.
How do you get paid?
If someone wins $1 million in a scratch off, I'll just tell them, hey, X number of dollars. I do about 8 hours worth of work getting stuff together, travel wherever we need to travel. So it's like 2 days, 16 hours at my hourly rate, blah, blah, blah. This is what
this is your lump sum.
Yeah. But these real big amounts, my involvement is now. And then we're going to go to the claim. And then after the claim, and then after that, I'm going to be around. So the initial payment really covers about 2 years of time because I want to get them through the first tax return before there's even the option to let someone else take over or for them to say, hey, I don't need you anymore. Okay. I'll tell them, plan on maybe 1% to 2% of the expense over that time period going to advisors. Okay. And then after that 2-year period is up, we can take a look at it and say, okay, do you still want me involved? If you do, then some type of monthly amount to have me involved that you can fire me at any time if you don't need me. But generally, I'm here to be the call. You call me and I'm your concierge to get something done. Hey, Kurt, I'm looking at buying property in North Carolina. Can you talk to a couple of realtors on my behalf? Yes. So I'll do that and get some information or review things for a client. A client will look at something and say, hey, I'm thinking about buying a condo. When you look at the documentation, I'll look at it and then I'll tell them, hey, why don't we buy it in a land trust? I'll create that for you so no one knows that you're the owner of it. so that when you bring your friends down, you can just say, hey, it's a VRBO. I rented it for the week. We can have some fun here, as opposed to you being the owner and them finding out.
Okay, so let's say that I've won $1 bazillion in the lottery. It's time to claim it. Walk me through the smartest way to do that.
We need to be as inconspicuous as possible. Like I'll try to get someone to drive me to pick up the clients, and I'll meet the clients at a location. We'll get them in the vehicle. We'll go to the lottery office. Typically, I have a appointment time, but sometimes you don't want an appointment time. It all depends on what's going on. I will always set these appointment dates when I know there's some bigger media thing going out there. Like if I was going to do something last week, I would have done it the day after or the day of the presidential debate, because all the news is going to be on the presidential debate or the next day after, not on what's going on in the lottery office. So, we go there, we get dropped off, we go in. I'll tell the clients, I know COVID's over for the most part, but I would like you to wear a mask. I would like you to wear sunglasses. I would like you to wear a hat. If you have tattoos, let's try to cover them up so that no one could see that if someone takes a picture or there's something that goes on TV or anything like that. I've had clients wear costumes, like Halloween costumes there. I've had a client that I had her put on like a bodysuit, so she looked a lot heavier than she really was. And it's sad that we're at that point, but it is what it is. So.
Well, Kurt Panousis, thank you so much for talking with me.
You're welcome. Thank you.
When we get back, meet a man who, at 21 years old, won a $28 million Powerball jackpot.
After I won, I actually went back into work for a day because I never, ever missed a day of work.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay with me.
This outrageous, this an atrocity. Probably why we all up in this hip-hop economy. No, it ain't Monopoly, definitely not the slot machine. I scratched a ticket off and said I won the lottery.
I just won the lottery, baby, and it felt so good to me. I just doubled my monies, then I doubled my honeys, then I doubled down everything. I won the lottery.
And if you do the math, I gave him $1, he gave me $2 back.
Oh yeah, I won the lottery. I picking the numbers 1, 2, 3. And now I got more money than you'll ever see. I picking the numbers 1, 2, 3.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. In 1999, Timothy Schultz had the moment that many of us have imagined, but few have experienced. In his shaking hands, he held a winning Powerball ticket for $28 million. Flash forward 25 years, and he's had lots of time to reflect on how this win expanded his world and how it's come with its fair share of challenges, too. Timothy puts his experience to good use as a host of a podcast where he interviews other lottery winners. It's called Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune. And I asked him to start off our interview with where else? The day it happened. What was going through his mind after he bought the ticket that would change his life?
It was kind of funny because I told people that I was holding the winning Powerball ticket. I was just kind of joking around, but I kind of had this inner hunch, like, this is the one. I thought that, and maybe that's just a coincidence, but that's what I thought. And then...
Well, wait a minute. Was it like a quick pick, or did you have specific numbers?
It was a quick pick.
Okay. How many?
Just one ticket. And I sold it to myself because I worked at the gas station. And so I woke up the next morning to my father, because I was living at my parents' house at the time. I was 21 years old and just working at this gas station for 40 to 60 hours a week for a little over minimum wage, just trying to put myself through college. And I purchased this lottery ticket that changed everything. Like, it literally changed my life. Like, felt like a movie. And so the day that it happened, my father banged on my bedroom door and said, Tim, you have to get up. Did you sell the winning Powerball ticket last night? Because you sold the winning ticket. Your boss left a message on the voicemail. You sold the winning ticket. Did you buy one? And immediately I thought, yes, I did buy one. Not only did I buy one, I told people that I was holding the winning ticket, and maybe I won. Maybe I actually won. I started just freaking out. I was ecstatic. I was frantic. I couldn't find it anywhere. And I found it finally crumpled up in a little ball. It wasn't the most organized 21-year-old, but I found this piece of paper, this lottery ticket, and I unraveled it. And this was 1999. So the internet wasn't what it is today. And so I compared the numbers. I ran upstairs and I compared the numbers to the numbers in the newspaper, and they matched. Every single number matched. And it was so surreal. It really felt like almost like an out-of-body experience, or like I was living in a movie or something, but it really was happening.
Your dad was there. Who did you tell right away?
The first person that I think I called was my mother, and she was at work, and she didn't believe me, and she thought that I was joking, and she just was very, very skeptical that this was real. She was going, why? This isn't funny. Why are you saying this? This isn't funny. And we called family friends who were attorneys and financial advisors who were friends of the family, people that we trusted, and asked them, look, what should we do with this ticket? And they said, go put it in a safety deposit box and let's arrange a meeting. So we put it in a safety deposit box, and just walking into the bank doing that, even that, I felt like almost like it was like a liability, holding this ticket, looking over my shoulder. It's like, who knows what I'm actually holding here? A ticket worth millions of dollars. And so that was a little nerve-wracking, but we put it in the safety deposit box and then developed a plan on what we were going to be doing with the money, how it needed to be redeemed. And there's a lot of details involved in that I had no idea about, especially investing, because I was 21 years old. I was a gas station clerk. So it was all very foreign to me.
Had you ever played the lotto before this?
I played for a few months, not very long, because in the state of Iowa at the time, this was in Iowa in the middle of the United States, you had to be 21 years old at that time to play the lottery. And I was 21. So I hadn't been playing for very long. And I was inspired to play actually from a dream I had that I had won the lottery. It was a very real, vivid dream. And after that happened, it was so real that it took a bit to understand that it hadn't happened. It took a few seconds after waking up. It's one of those dreams, like a very lucid type dream. So it's like, well, I started playing a little more consistently after this dream. And then it was about 3 months later that I won.
In the time between the morning you realized you had the winning ticket and the day you walked into the lottery headquarters, redeemed it, first of all, how long was that span? And what was your state of mind in that tight era?
It was a few weeks, and my mentality initially, after I won, I actually went back into work for a day because I never, ever missed a day of work. I was one of those guys that goes to work every single day. I could even be sick and I'd probably go into work. I'd have to be really sick not to go. So if I didn't show up, people would probably know that I was holding the winning ticket because they knew that I sold it. So I went in and acted as if I hadn't won because we wanted to get our ducks in a row. So I went in and I felt like I was going for an Oscar or something because I wasn't an actor. I'm not an actor. I'm a pretty authentic person. And customer after customer would ask, what was it like to sell the winning Powerball ticket? How was it? And I just kept saying, well, whoever it is remembers me, and just kind of smiled at them. But some people really thought I was acting odd. I remember one person in particular that said, "What is wrong with you?" It was hard to act normal when you know that you won the Powerball, yet you are in there, and that you sold a ticket that all these people are asking about it.
Will you talk about the day you walked into the lottery headquarters to redeem your ticket?
I almost felt like a quasi celebrity or something, because there was a press conference that was arranged, and I was not accustomed to speaking to media at the time. I was a fairly shy person, and it was just really, I felt like a deer in headlights with all of the cameras and all of the reporters asking questions. And they were interesting questions, but part of me was really terrified because I was just anxious of all of the crowd and stuff and answering all the questions. But another part of me really enjoyed it. And I went on after this to pursue broadcast news and journalism and film. And I was inspired from this experience to do this. And it was like being a celebrity for a day, quasi celebrity.
You've said that people came out of the woodwork asking for money. Can you give me some examples?
I mentioned within the press conference, I believe, that I was interested in film and thinking about getting into filmmaking. So I received countless pleas for money from filmmakers, because anyone that's in the film industry knows that especially independent movies are difficult to finance. So I received a lot of pleas for money for that, but also just from all kinds of people with disabilities, people that wanted money for their church. So it became very apparent to me that there's so much disparity in the world. And so people need money. And I think people view lottery winners, some people, not everybody, but a lot of people view lottery winners as having received something for nothing. It wasn't earned. Like, there's the level of respect that you have the money, but you didn't earn it. So there are some people, they think it's okay to ask lottery winners for money. The lottery winner might be more apt to empathize with their situation and give them money because they got something for nothing. That's sort of the mentality that I think some people feel.
I'm assuming there was an outrageous thing you bought yourself. What was the first thing you really indulged in?
Keep in mind, I was 21 years old. Literally, the first thing I purchased that was such a big deal to me at the time was the latest, greatest video game system. At the time, it was the Nintendo NES. And it's something I couldn't afford before. So it was a really big deal for me mentally to be able to afford that. Also got a cell phone, which was a big deal for $19.99 at that time. It's something I couldn't have afforded. But then the largest purchase initially after winning was a new vehicle.
What was it?
Oh, it was a new Chevy truck.
Like a rock.
Yes.
Okay, so I want to pull the camera back a bit. It's been 25 years. And so you've got some experience with having had a lot of money, with having been open about talking about your lottery winnings. You also you have your own podcast, Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune. Why have you decided to be open about this? What has been the advantage of being open about this? And what has been like, crap, that's a price I'm paying that I didn't expect to pay?
One thing I have learned, not only from my own story, but most of the other lottery winners that I've interviewed, not all of them, but most of them, is that when you win a major lottery prize, oftentimes it magnifies your personality. It doesn't change necessarily who you are, but it can magnify who you are. And for me, who I am, one of the things I am anyway, is that I love journalism. I love broadcast news. I love producing. I love putting out content. I love entertaining the masses. And I always have. It's what I went to college for after winning the lottery. And I love interviewing people, and I love meeting other people that have won the lottery. It's cathartic to me. fulfilling to see how their stories compare or contrast with my own. And so that's why I'm doing this. And it's just really fulfilling to me on the inside. People often say, what are you going to do when you win the lottery? Often if you buy a lottery ticket, it makes sense to dream about it. And I think it can be healthy. That's one of the fun things about winning the lottery. But if that dream becomes a sudden reality, which it does for some people, then seriously, what are you going to do if you can theoretically retire instantly? Yeah, it's fun. I went on vacations, but after the novelty of that wears off, what are you going to do with your life that gives you satisfaction when you wake up in the morning? And for me, I needed something. I needed a purpose. So I went to college and studied film and broadcast news and journalism, which I'm passionate about all of those things. And then I produced a few films and helped on other people's films. And it led me to this podcast that I'm producing now. It just really feeds me and gives me a lot of joy.
That was Timothy Schultz. He won a $28 million Powerball jackpot back in 1999 when he was just 21 years old. After the break, you might think that a young millionaire would have zero trouble filling his social calendar and potentially finding love, right?
I had a better dating life prior to winning the lottery. I had a pretty thriving dating life as a gas station clerk, 21 years old, trying to put myself through college.
I'm Kyone Wolf. This is Audacious. Stay tuned.
Every time you're here with me, it's like I won the lottery. As rich as I could wish to be, it's like I won the lottery.
This is Audacious. I'm Kyone Wolf. Winning the lottery. We all dream about it at some point, right? But for Timothy Schultz, it wasn't just a figurative dream. In 1999, while working as a gas station attendant, he said he actually dreamed that he'd won the Powerball. And at just 21 years old, while living with his parents in Iowa, the dream came true. Timothy suddenly found himself stepping into a completely different life. The life of a person who had just won a $28 million Powerball jackpot. Back to our conversation. One concern that I think I would have if I were in your situation, having won all that money and being open about it, is, and I kind of have this fear now, like I'm somewhat of a public figure locally. And so when I meet people, and I'm single, right? So when I meet people and I start dating, I can't shake the feeling that it's possible someone isn't really attracted to me. They're just like, oh, I want to go on a date with Kyone Wolf because it's Kyone Wolf and it's like a big deal. And I wondered if you experience sort of a version of that, like if people know who you are and they will, how do you hold that when you meet someone new and it's possible, and maybe in some cases likely, that they're interested not in you, but in your money?
Initially, and probably for the first few years, it was very difficult to trust people that they wanted me for the right reasons. And yes, there were people that wanted me for the absolutely wrong reasons. So that built the wall further of mistrust. To be honest, I had a better dating life prior to winning the lottery. I had a pretty thriving dating life as a gas station clerk, 21 years old, trying to put myself through college. After I won the lottery, there was no shortage of people who wanted to date me. In fact, that probably went up even, but I had a really difficult time trusting people, so I wouldn't give anybody a chance. It's really hard to think that people wanted me for the right reason. It was just a very foreign, isolating experience and difficult to trust people for quite a while.
So how did you refine your intuition to know when someone truly was interested in you and loving you and knowing you versus the money?
With new people, you just kind of have to go with your gut for one thing. And I had to learn to give people a chance, let them prove keep a critical eye on it, but let them prove if they want you for the right reasons or not. And if they don't, you don't need them in your life. And if they do, that's fantastic. And I think the more solid, actualized that you are as a person, those types of people, I like to be surrounded by those types of people that, want me for the right reasons. So I just think critically. I try to be critical when gauging new relationships, and, just kind of have my guard up a little bit, but I also have to give people a chance.
As you were learning to spend more money, because that was not something you were used to, how did you practice it?
Well, my financial advisors told me how much I could spend a month. And if I went beyond that, it was okay. It wasn't the end of the world or anything. But so there was definitely a huge, huge buffer, but I tried to live within the budget that they set. But beyond that, I did a lot of things to help people. I would go into a restaurant and tip people insanely high. I would stop it when I was driving on the interstate, or if you stop and I would see a homeless person, and I would think, I'd give them $100 bill. Here you go. Here's a Benjamin for you. And that felt good. That felt really good. But I felt sorry. Like, why is this person on the street when I just won the lottery? That's not fair. So in a sense, I felt even a little guilty for having won, in a sense, because I couldn't help everybody that I wanted to the extent that I wanted to. But it still felt very blessed, and it felt so amazing to be able to help people.
Looking back over the 25 years, what is a shoulda, coulda, woulda moment? Maybe something you would have done differently, either in the very beginning or over the course of these 25 years.
If I knew then what I know now, it would be easier to tell people, no, I can't help you financially, without feeling guilty. Helping people is amazing too. I've always been grateful for the ability to do that. But it was very difficult. It was a huge learning curve, a huge hurdle the first few years after I won, to be able to tell people no, especially a couple family members. And some relationships were damaged because of that. So to summarize it, I think I would just feel less guilty about that. And because there's something called sudden wealth syndrome. It's a psychological term for people that have come into sudden wealth. And one of the aspects of that is this feeling of guilt for having won and come across this money when everyone else did not. And I think I was definitely feeling that way and wanting to help. There's nothing wrong with helping people, first of all, but I felt this sense of guilt. So I don't feel that way anymore, but that's one of the things I learned over the years.
You'd said that winning the lottery or coming into a lot of money reveals a lot about a person. And I'm going to guess from what we've talked about that part of what it revealed in you, correct me if I'm wrong, is that you are generous and that you are interested in helping people. You even though you won the lotto and you never have to work again, you've got this podcast because you love storytelling, you love journalism, you love connecting people. But I'm curious, in the spirit of winning this money reveals things about you, what did it reveal about you that you're not particularly proud of?
I don't think this is a direct answer to the question necessarily, but I had to move initially right after I won. I didn't have to move, but I felt as if I should move because everyone knew my story. I couldn't even go into a grocery store without people talking about my story, whether they knew I was there or not. And I just had this whole life that I had built there with friends and family. And I just left. I was just gone. I ghosted the place, as they say, because I was just uncomfortable being the outlier, being the 21-year-old clerk that won the lottery. And that's what people knew of me. it's just kind of like the before and the after.
On your podcast, Lottery, Dreams, and Fortune, you've interviewed other people who've won the lottery. What is a story that really stands out? Like every time you remember this conversation, your heart races.
Oh my gosh. One story that really sticks out to me is a man by the name of Roberto Mendoza. He was an immigrant and he was basically a kidnap victim. He grew up poor in South America, I believe, and he turned on the taps for water. Nothing would come out. Air would come out. He was hungry. He was kidnapped. He eventually escaped and immigrated to the United States and learned English and a few other languages. And he was inspired because of this to become a chef and to help homeless people. And he eventually won the lottery, which is why I met him and interviewed him. He won right around $250,000 on a scratch ticket. But what's so stunning about this is that he gave it all away to help feed the homeless. And he has gone on to cook for several presidents of the United States. There's something really heartfelt and just extremely positive about what he did to help humanity there.
How do you get people to say yes to interview? How do you get people to say yes to talking with you on your podcast? Because I mean, I ran into this problem for years and I'd love some pointers.
Oh.
I mean, it probably helps that you are a lottery winner. Like that's a different ask.
It's one of the most difficult types of guests to get to come onto the program because a lot of lottery winners just don't want to be out there publicly, even if they have
what's the incentive?
Yeah.
Besides just sharing their story.
Some people just want to be an open book and that's their personality and they just want to share their story with the world. And that's the case with a lot of the people that I've met. I mean, people that have tens of millions or hundreds of millions. It's certainly not money. I don't think so. So I think the incentive is just that they want to meet and they want to share their story and they trust that I'm going to treat them fairly and put out something they approve of, that they enjoy. Because one of my goals is for it to be enjoyable. I'm not out to get anybody. So I think that's it. But for lottery winners that don't want to talk or that wish to stay anonymous, I completely respect that. And I empathize with that. And I cannot wait for the day when I interview someone where I keep them anonymous, because I am speaking with a couple people that have won significant prizes, and I hope to have them on the program and blur their face and disguise their voice and make them sound like Darth Vader or something.
Yeah, we've had a few of those conversations. I'm like, would you like to pick your modulation? Send them some samples. You make me wonder. It sounds as though 25 years after the win, you've settled into yourself and into this reality. And you know how you operate in this post-winning era. How many years after winning would you say you leveled into how you are now?
For me, it probably took 15 years or 20 years. I just feel that we all grow as people with things that happen in our lives. And the lottery win is one thing that happened to me. And it has definitely taken some time to be able to come into myself and be just comfortable with being authentic. I mean, I've always been authentic, but it was very reserved for a long, long time, even with strangers, because I had relationships and friendships that were damaged because of that. If someone finds out that I've won the lottery, I've had experiences where all of a sudden they look at me different. They look at me, I've had, all this person didn't work for their money. They won the lottery. They just got lucky. And so there can be some animosity there with some people, but thankfully I've learned to overcome that and give people a chance. And I found that a lot of people are actually pretty loving and supportive, and not everybody is out there to get me.
if you imagine that alternate life, that alternate timeline where you were able to remain anonymous, what do you think about that alternate timeline?
That's an alternate timeline that I would definitely consider. When I won the lottery, if I had the choice of whether to claim the prize anonymously, then I definitely would have considered it. And if I were to win tomorrow, then generally speaking, I think I would consider it because, I mean, once you claim it publicly, it really can change a lot of things with not only the people around you, but strangers.
If you could go back in time to that day where you sold yourself a lottery ticket at the gas station, would you do it again?
Absolutely. 100%. Overall, it's been mostly positive. I'm so unbelievably grateful. I feel so lucky. It's one of the best things that's ever happened to me. It's not a black or white situation. There are pros and cons and life lessons, but even the life lessons, even the difficult things that I had to learn and overcome, I feel that that's positive because it helped me grow as a person. I'm a very spiritual person, and I feel that it's been positive. So absolutely, I would buy the ticket again.
I've asked everything I planned on. Is there anything I missed? Open floor, anything you want people to hold on to after this conversation? Just anything you kind of hoped I would ask and I didn't, or a direction we were going in and we went another way? Anything, open floor.
For anyone that plays the lottery, I think it's important to play responsibly, but also know that you do have a chance if you play. And I am not affiliated with any lotteries, but I mean, it's my life story and anything is possible. Your life can be turned on its head in an instant. So just remember, anything is possible. Dream big, but play responsibly. It only takes one ticket for a chance. As cliche as that sounds, it's true. And just play responsibly if you play. And if you don't, that's okay too. But anything's possible.
And in your case, literally listen to your dreams.
Yes, that's right.
Well, Timothy Schultz, thank you so much for talking with me and congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
We'll have a link to Timothy's podcast, where he interviews many other lottery winners, and we'll have a link to the lottery lawyer, Kurt Panousis, as well. That's at ctpublic.org/audacious. And if you or someone you care about struggles with compulsive gambling or a gambling disorder, there is help. Call or text the National Problem Gambling Helpline at 1-800-GAMBLER, and they're available 24/7. Audacious is always lovingly produced by Jessica Severin DeMartinez, Meg Fitzgerald, Robin Doyon-Aitken, and Meg Dalton at Connecticut Public Radio in Hartford. If you like this episode about winning, check out our past episodes featuring my conversations with Nobel Prize winners, pun competition winners, and a whole bunch of Guinness World Record holders. And remember, I mentioned that you have a better chance at getting struck by lightning than winning the lotto? Well, we'll have a link to our episode about people who have been struck by lightning at ctpublic.org/audacious. And of course, you can always check them out on your favorite podcast app. Stay in touch with me on the socials at Kyone Wolf, and you can always send an email to audacious@ctpublic.org. Thanks for listening.
To bring chips because I'm gonna buy the